Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a saga that honestly reads like a modern-day corporate epic. It's the story of Huawei.
hmm
You've definitely seen their name in the news. Maybe you even own one of their phones or other devices, but do you really know the full story?
It's quite a journey.
Right. We're talking about a company that started, well, incredibly small, became this global tech giant, then faced what looked like game over.
An existential threat, absolutely, and then fought back. It's really a remarkable story of resilience.
Well, that's what we're unpacking today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Huawei's path, it isn't just, a company history. It's this amazing case study in innovation, global strategy, and just sheer determination, especially when faced with these huge geopolitical pressures.
So our mission today, using sources like Huawei, a phoenix in the wires, is to get into their origins, that meteoric rise, the massive challenges, and their frankly surprising response.
Yeah, we want to give you the key insights, the stuff that really matters for
Mhm.
understanding this major player in, well, the whole tech world.
Okay, so let's rewind. Where did it all begin? 1987. Shenzhen, China.
Right at the start of China's economic opening.
And it was founded by Ren Zhengfei, who was a former officer in the People's Liberation Army. And when we say humble
We
beginnings,
really mean humble.
yeah, the initial capital was just 21,000 yuan, which back then was maybe 5,000 US dollars. Tiny.
Barely anything to start a tech company, even then.
And their first business was just importing and reselling PBX switches, those old office phone systems from Hong Kong.
Right. Basically acting as a trader middleman.
But even right at the start, Ren Zhengfei apparently had this much bigger idea. He didn't just want to resell, he wanted Huawei to develop its own technology.
And that right there, that commitment to doing it themselves, to
Yeah.
R&D from day one,
Yeah.
that's absolutely crucial. It set the whole tone.
It wasn't just about making quick money.
No, not at all. It was about building their own capability,
Mm.
aiming for technological sovereignty from the very beginning. Very different approach.
So how did that play out in the early days, the 90s?
Well, they quickly moved beyond just reselling. They started reverse engineering the foreign PBX switches, figuring them out, and then developing their own.
Okay. Learning by doing, basically.
Pretty much. And crucially, they targeted China's rural telecom market, places the big established players, often foreign companies, weren't really focused on.
Why rural? Seems counterintuitive, maybe.
It was actually a really clever strategy. They called it Toyo No,
Yeah.
roughly surrounding the cities from the countryside.
Okay.
Instead of battling the giants head-on in Shanghai or Beijing, they went to the smaller towns, the countryside. They could build market share there, refine their tech, learn the business.
Without that intense competition.
Exactly. It let them build a foundation, get experience, improve their products, all sort of under the radar. Patiently building strength.
That's fascinating. A really strategic, long-game approach from the start, laying the groundwork.
It really was. Building capability where nobody was really watching closely, setting the stage for, well, what came next.
Which was quite something. The 2000s saw Huawei really break out onto the global stage.
Oh, yeah. Rapid international expansion.
And their big competitive advantage often seemed to be price, right? Undercutting competitors.
Price was definitely part of it, a big part. But it wasn't just about being cheap. They were delivering equipment that was reliable and getting increasingly sophisticated.
And behind that was this huge focus on R&D you mentioned.
Absolutely relentless. Our sources point out they consistently plowed back a major chunk of their revenue, sometimes 10, 15%, or even more, straight into research and development, year after year.
Which is a massive commitment for any company.
Huge. And it paid off. They made significant contributions to 2G, then 3G, then 4G technologies. They weren't just catching up. They were starting to lead in certain areas.
So mobile operators around the world started choosing them.
All over. Asia, Africa, Europe, parts of the Americas. They became a key supplier, building the actual infrastructure, the backbone for mobile networks.
So how did they scale so fast? Was it just R&D and price?
That combination was powerful. Aggressive R&D, competitive pricing, plus a willingness to go into markets maybe others were hesitant about. And they scaled incredibly fast. By the early 2010s, they were the biggest telecom equipment maker in the world.
The biggest.
Wow. Think about that. Billions of people connected, calls made, data sent. A huge amount of that traffic, globally, was flowing through Huawei gear.
So if you're listening to this on your smartphone, there's a decent chance Huawei tech played a part somewhere along the line in the network connecting you.
Very likely. They became foundational to the mobile internet age we kind of take for granted now.
Okay, so they reached the top in telecom gear, then came the next big wave, 5G. And this is where Huawei really made its mark, but also where the trouble really started, right?
Exactly. 5G was supposed to be their crowning achievement in many ways. They emerged as a global leader, pouring immense resources into 5G research years before many others.
And they had the tech to back it up.
Oh yes, a huge number of essential 5G patents. They offered complete end-to-end solutions. And many independent analyses at the time rated their 5G tech as, frankly, superior, more advanced, sometimes more efficient.
And their vision wasn't just faster phones.
No, much bigger. They talked about 5G enabling smart cities, autonomous cars, automated factories, the whole Internet of Things revolution. It was a vision for a totally connected future.
But that very success, that became the problem.
It's a classic case of success becoming a double-edged sword. As their influence grew, especially in this critical next-gen tech like 5G, it set off alarm bells, particularly in the West, led by the U.S.
What were the specific concerns?
They centered on national security, worries about data privacy, and allegations of ties to the Chinese government and military. Could Beijing compel Huawei to spy or disrupt networks? That was the core fear.
And were these proven links or allegations?
Well, the sources we looked at emphasized these were largely allegations and concerns. Hard public evidence was often scarce or classified, but the perception of risk became overwhelming for some governments.
Which led to
A series of increasingly severe sanctions, culminating in measures that really aimed to cripple key parts of their business.
Right, so the stakes suddenly became incredibly high. This wasn't just business.
All gone overnight for new phones. And crucial chips from U.S. designers like Qualcomm. Access severely restricted or totally cut off.
So the predictions were dire.
Oh yeah. Many analysts thought this was it. The end of Huawei as a global player, certainly the end of their smartphone ambitions. It felt like an existential threat.
That's not what happened. They didn't just fold. Our sources talk about this wolf culture inside Huawei. Can you explain that?
Yeah, the wolf culture is this internal philosophy Ren Zhengfei fostered. It emphasizes extreme dedication, aggression in the market, teamwork, but also incredible resilience in the face of hardship, almost a survivalist mentality.
And that kicked in when the sanctions hit.
It seems so. It wasn't just a poster on the wall. It became their operating mode. There were stories, of engineers working around the clock, sleeping in the office, driven by this intense pressure to find solutions, to become self-reliant.
So what did they actually do?
A massive internal push on multiple fronts. First, HarmonyOS, their own operating system, designed to eventually replace Android on their devices. A huge undertaking.
Building an OS from scratch, basically.
Pretty much. Or at least adapting open source foundations into something completely independent of Google. Second, they doubled down on designing their own advanced Kirin chips, even though manufacturing those cutting-edge chips became incredibly difficult without access to global foundries using U.S. tech.
Like TSMC.
Exactly. And third, a huge push to diversify their supply chain, investing massively in Chinese domestic suppliers, trying to build up alternatives for everything they could no longer buy from the U.S. or its allies.
Did it work? I mean, their smartphone sales definitely took a hit, right?
Oh, a massive hit. Globally, their market share plummeted. Losing Google services was devastating for international consumers.
Yeah.
But, and this is the key part, they survived. Their core business, the telecom network equipment, while facing bans in some Western countries, continued. It was harder, yes, but they found ways.
So they dug deep, innovated under pressure, and managed to stay in the fight.
Absolutely. It became this incredible case study in corporate resilience, driven by that internal culture and a strategic focus on self-sufficiency.
And they didn't just focus on survival in their core areas. They actually kept innovating and pushing into new consumer electronics areas, even with all that pressure.
That's right. It's quite remarkable. Even while battling sanctions, they continued launching really impressive laptops. The MateBook series, for example, got great reviews.
Yeah, I've seen those. They look pretty good.
Sleek designs, good performance. They also pushed hard into wearables, smartwatches, fitness trackers with advanced health stuff, high-quality earbuds and headphones too.
And smart home devices?
Yep, expanding their ecosystem with routers, smart screens, other IoT gadgets, often running on their own HarmonyOS, trying to build that alternative ecosystem.
And beyond consumer tech.
They expanded into enterprise solutions. Cloud computing, Huawei Cloud, is actually a significant player now, especially in China and certain regions, and even getting into components for electric vehicles.
So this wasn't just hunkering down, it was a strategic pivot.
Exactly. What's fascinating here is how they use this crisis to diversify. It wasn't just about surviving the immediate storm. It looks like a long-term strategy to build new growth engines in areas less directly impacted by the U.S. sanctions.
Smart. Shows real adaptability.
It really does. It raises this important question, about how companies navigate this increasingly complex, fractured global economy. Diversification isn't just nice to have. It might be essential for resilience.
Okay, so let's try and pull this all together. We've covered a lot of ground. What are the big takeaways from Huawei's journey?
Well, first, you absolutely cannot ignore the power of sustained, massive investment in R&D. It was their engine from day one and crucial to their survival.
Right. Yeah.
Second, tech is now undeniably intertwined with geopolitics. Huawei's story is maybe the starkest example of how technology has become this central arena for international competition and national security concerns.
Yeah, no escaping that now.
Yeah. Third, it really highlighted the vulnerabilities in our super integrated global supply chains, how dependent companies have become on specific suppliers, often in specific countries. Huawei's crisis forced a rethink for many.
And
Finally, just sheer corporate resilience and adaptability. Their response to sanctions, that wolf culture in action, the strategic pivots. It's a powerful case study in how a company can fight back from the brink.
So looking ahead, what's the outlook? They're still facing challenges, right? Especially with advanced chips.
Oh, definitely. Accessing cutting-edge semiconductor manufacturing remains a major hurdle. That's not going away easily. However, they still have that massive R&D engine, a huge patent portfolio, especially in telecom and 5G.
And these new focuses, software, cloud, enterprise.
Exactly. Their strategic pivot towards these areas suggests they are far from being counted out. They're finding new ways to compete and grow. The Phoenix analogy in the source title, Phoenix in the Wires, feels pretty apt.
Despite the fire, it keeps finding ways to rise again.
Precisely. It's a story about the relentless drive for tech advancement, the messy reality of globalization today, and just the incredible will to survive and adapt against huge odds.
So for you listening, understanding Huawei's story gives you a real insight into these powerful forces shaping the tech world, forces that affect the devices in your pocket and the networks you rely on every single day.
It really does.
This deep dive definitely shows how tangled up technology, business strategy, and global politics have become.
It absolutely does. And it leaves us with a really big question, I think. As we see this potentially more fragmented global landscape emerging, will innovation alone keep driving things forward? Or will geopolitical factors, who's aligned with whom, ultimately decide who leads in the next wave of technology? What do you think Huawei's next big play might be? Where do they go from here?
That's definitely something to think about. A fascinating question to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the complex world of Huawei. Keep digging, keep questioning the stories behind the tech headlines.